Hi Circuit Riders, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of our Nova Scotia trip here this summer. Last week we highlighted the Acadian World Congress, which is why we came to Western Nova Scotia in the first place. We had a wonderful time there, such a special experience. But while we were in Nova Scotia, we did a bunch of other things that weren't related to the Congress, so this is kind of our sightseeing, driving around, doing some family history, and some personal things here in Nova Scotia. Our first stop is the tiny village of Kemptville, Nova Scotia, which is just about a half an hour from Yarmouth. We have a fun family history story around Kemptville. So in the mid-1800s, Jason's great-great-great-grandfather, third great-grandfather, was coming over on a ship from England, we believe as an indentured servant. And when he got to Yarmouth Harbor, he jumped ship and walked away from whatever servitude that he was bound to and walked to Kemptville and was taken in by a family there. And the family name was Prosser. We believe his original name was William Evans, but he became William Prosser. He settled there and raised a family there. His daughter, Joycey, also settled in Kemptville and raised a family there. Her husband was Charles Reeves, who's Jason's great-great-grandparents, and their homestead is the one that we are looking for today. We should park in the church parking lot.
Because there's not a church parking lot.
Oh, I wonder if they're buried right here.
It's quite possible.
This is the Reeves homestead in Kemptville, Nova Scotia, which is Jason's great-great-grandparents' homestead in the 1800s. And we've got a picture here of Charles Reeves, who is the great-great-grandfather, and here's Jason standing in the same position in front of the same house in the same town. Very cool. And we also have a picture of this Baptist church right down the road to be able to place where everything is. We also discovered a little cemetery behind the church and were able to find the graves of the great-great-grandparents and possibly the names of his great-great-grandmother's parents. I don't know if they're buried here, but we found a lot of family names in that cemetery. So fun.
Yeah, very cool. There are several different labeled scenic drives in Nova Scotia, and one afternoon we decided to do the Lighthouse Trail. So this goes up the western side of the Nova Scotia Peninsula. We saw some great lighthouses, and we came across a really funny oddity on the way. The Shag Harbour UFO incident occurred during the night of October 4th, 1967. Several local residents reported seeing something in the air that night over waters off Shag Harbour and believed the object crashed into the water. The sighting was reported to the local RCMP, who responded to the scene near the moss plant in Shag Harbour.
In spite of searching the area into the early morning hours, no evidence of any crash was found. The incident was witnessed by many local people and recorded or reported by the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Air Force, and the Rescue Coordination Center.
Yeah, they cleaned up the evidence so well, there was nothing to be had.
Well, they clearly crashed because of all the fog around here. They couldn't see where they were going.
Yeah, it's open till 5. Let's go.
The Canadian Festival and
Well, they're having an expo next month.
of course they are. Wow.
Well, there's actually a little UFO museum here in town, which shed a little more light on the situation.
That's a nice little bonus.
It was. So apparently there was about a dozen local witnesses who saw this thing with lights in the sky that crashed into the water, but none of them thought it was a UFO. They all thought it was a plane that had crashed into the water. It was 11:20 at night, so it was very dark out. People just reported seeing lights in the sky and then something crashed in the water. So they called the police and, reported a plane crash, basically.
Some of the police saw the same, some of the
And some fishermen out on the water saw it too. But then over the next 5 days, the Coast Guard came and they searched all over the area and nothing was found. And then that's when people started saying, maybe it wasn't a plane, maybe it was a UFO.
or military. I mean, there's all those other. But yeah, it was saying in there how everyone had the same kind of not exaggerated story. Again, they weren't the ones that thought it was a UFO. There was kind of yellow glittery foam that the boats could see for 200 or 300 feet of that in the water that then sunk away. It's fun.
Always fascinating to see local stories like this. Wow, these are big waves down here south of Port Latour. Yeah. He's saying there's crab shells down there from the seagulls, dropping them on the rocks. We're going to finish up our week here in Acadia with a walking tour of downtown Yarmouth. This is the street where the Tintamara was the other day, and it was full of crowded people and noise. It was a wonderful event. Well, we found this little walking tour map of Yarmouth that has historical houses on it and stuff. So it's a Sunday afternoon. We're just going to do a little walk, and we're going to go, I think, out to a restaurant for dinner. We haven't really been out to dinner yet. While we've been here, we should try some traditional Acadian food. If they have it there, we'll show it to you.
All right, some really beautiful houses down in downtown Yarmouth. We enjoyed that walking tour. Now we're going to head to a little restaurant down near the waterfront called the Dinner Plate, because their menu says that they have a dish called Rappie Pie. And we've been hearing about this dish all week. It's a traditional Acadian dish made of potatoes and chicken is all I know. We tried to find some at the grocery store and they didn't carry any where we were. But one of the girls in the grocery store said, "Oh, I don't like Rappie Pie. My mother makes it and I don't like it at all." So what we read online was it's kind of a love-hate thing. You know, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. But since it's a traditional Acadian dish and we haven't really had a lot of Acadian food this week, we wanted to see if we could snag some. So Rappie Pie is basically mashed potatoes and chicken. You have to drain the starch out of the potatoes though, so they're nice and dry. And that's a really, really simple peasant dish. And the potatoes are reconstituted with chicken broth. It has a really nice brothy flavor. Yeah, very simple dish. I like it. Maybe not.
It's not well if it is. There it goes.
Oh, there it goes.
That's very well. Cool. Yeah, it really stiffens up. It's like dug in. So I find them after the seagulls have gotten them and they're just an empty shell. That's really cool.
Thanks so much for driving around Nova Scotia with us this week. We hope you enjoyed it. And next week, we'll see you back on our mainland for just a couple more weeks until we start heading south. Until then, I hope you have a great week. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.